Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you've ever owned a steel bike, you know what I'm talking about. That little bit of reddish-brown funk that starts creeping in on a scratch or a weld. Yup, it's rust. And seeing it can cause a mini heart attack for any cyclist. But is it really a death sentence for your bike? Well, today we're going to break down everything you need to know to find it, fight it, and stop it from ever coming back.
This is it. This is the big question, pulled right from a rider over on the bicycle stack exchange. And it's the first thing that pops into your head, right? You see a spot of rust, and you immediately start picturing the frame just giving up on you. And that is a totally fair thing to worry about. I mean, nobody wants to think about a frame failing while you're cruising downhill.
Okay, you can breathe a sigh of relief. The good news is, in most cases, the rust you see is just on the surface. It's purely cosmetic. Think of it like a little scrape on your skin, not a broken bone. Sure, it's annoying to look at, but it doesn't mean your frame is about to disintegrate. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by figuring out what rust actually is. Then we'll get into the super important part, telling the difference between a cosmetic issue and a real problem. After that, we'll get our tools together, walk through the cleanup process, talk about protecting the metal, and wrap it all up with how to stop it from happening again. Let's get into it. First things first, you gotta know your enemy to defeat your enemy. Once you understand the basic science of what's going on, rust becomes a lot less scary and a lot more manageable. So what is it? Well, the folks at Bobbin Bikes explain it perfectly. It's a chemical reaction called oxidation. Basically, the iron in your bike's steel frame hangs out with some oxygen and water and bam, you get rust. And things like rain, humidity, or, and this is a big one, road salt from winter riding can put that whole process into overdrive. All right, now for what is probably the most crucial part of this whole thing, the diagnosis. This is where we figure out if you're dealing with a simple cleanup job or something a lot more serious. And you can really see the difference here. On the left, that's your standard surface rust. It's that reddish-brown stuff, maybe some tiny pits. It's ugly, but it's not a danger. But on the right, that's structural rust. You see those deep pits, those craters, and especially metal that's actually flaking off. That's a huge red flag that the rust has gone deep and is literally eating away at the strength of your frame. And this is just a fantastic piece of advice from the vintage bike community over on Reddit. It's called the poke test. If you're worried, take something sharp like a nail or an awl and just gently push it into the worst looking part of the rust. If it feels hard and solid, you're probably fine. But if it feels soft, or if it crumbles, or worse, if it pokes right through, that's a sign of major damage. That frame is no longer safe to ride. Okay, so let's say your frame passed the poke test with flying colors. Great. Now it's time to get to work and get that rust off. And the best part is, this is a totally doable DIY project, and you probably already have most of what you need at home. Here's your battle station. We're talking a wire brush or some steel wool for the heavy lifting, some fine grit sandpaper to smooth things out, and some cloths. And for the secret weapon, just plain old white vinegar or lemon juice. They're amazing at dissolving rust. You might also want some baking soda to make a paste and a good degreaser to clean the area before you start. All right. Time to get our hands dirty. We're going to follow a really simple step-by-step process here. This will take that frame from rusty and sad to clean and ready for its next chapter. So here's how it goes. First, get the bike prepped and clean off any dirt. Next, soak a cloth with your vinegar or lemon juice and just dab it onto the rusty spots. Let it sit for a little while to work its magic. Then it's time to scrub. A wire brush, steel wool, or even a crumpled up ball of aluminum foil works incredibly well for this. After that, and this is super important, you have to dry the area completely. Then just take a look and see if you missed any spots. So the rust is gone. You're looking at beautiful, clean, bare metal. You might think you're done, but hold on. This is actually the most vulnerable your frame can be. What you do right now is what's going to keep that rust from coming right back. So you've got three basic choices. Paint is your best bet for long-term, durable protection, but it's also the most work. You got to prime it and everything. Then there's wax, like a carnauba wax. Super easy to put on, and you just have to reapply it maybe once a year. Now that third one, clear coat. Be careful. A lot of people on Reddit warn that it can trap moisture and you'll just end up watching rust grow right under the clear coat, which is not what you want. Okay, we fixed the problem. Now let's talk about making sure it never happens again. We're going to focus on playing the long game here, with a few easy habits and one pro-level trick to keep your bike pristine. Now, this is something a lot of riders never even think about, and it's a great point from the builders at Breadwinner Cycles. Rust doesn't just happen on the outside. Water can get inside your frame tubes and just sit there, rusting your bike from the inside out. So what's the solution? It's a product called an internal frame protector, Like Frame Saver. It comes in a spray can with this long, skinny hose. You just stick the hose into the little holes in your frame, give it a good spray, and it coats the entire inside of the tubes with a waxy protective layer. Doing this just once a year can literally add decades to your bike's life. And at the end of the day, so much of this just comes down to simple, good habits. Wipe your bike down if you ride in the rain. Try to store it inside. If you see a new paint chip, put a little touch-up paint on it right away. Keep your chain lubed. These tiny little things make a massive difference in the long run. So there you have it. Rust can feel like this big, scary monster, but it's totally beatable. From doing a simple poke test to using a little frame saver, you now have all the tools you need to keep your ride in perfect shape. A steel bike that's taken care of isn't just a bike, it's a companion that can literally last a lifetime. So the only question is, what's one thing you're going to do today to protect yours?